These are the top 10 cruisers in 2025. Now, there's plenty of options in 2025. Cruiser and bobber fans are going to be delighted, but let's pick out 10 of the best. Though they've never gone away, cruisers could be on for a bit of a comeback. Low slung, cool as hell, and plenty of options from the world over. Of course, there's options aplenty for all license holders. Entry level, novice friendly, A2 compatible twins, appealing to those after low seats and easy manageability, all the way to 160 plus brake horsepower brutes with the latest in electronics and spec parts like the Ducati Diavel. But in 2025, what's out there exactly? Which are among the best for your money? You know the drill. I'll cover 10 of the best in price ascending order, help you decide, and I'll get my pick at the end. Subscribe and we'll get started. The Kawasaki Eliminator 500, £5,999. Japanese giant Kawasaki has a long tradition in cruiser style bikes, and its latest, the 2024 Eliminator 500, not only revives one of its historic names, but also provides a tempting alternative to one of the best sellers in the class, like the CMX 500 Rebel. Perhaps Kawasaki measured up against Honda, who introduced its Rebel in 2017 as a cruiser variant of its already popular A2 specific CB or CBR 500 family, and it's since proved a big hit for its combination of low seat ease, friendly performance, and good value for money. Now, this Eliminator has a low 735mm seat, it's got a low overall weight at 177 kilograms, and it's got an easygoing 45 brake horsepower twin motor, which you'll find in the Ninja 500 and also the Z500. It's also around £400 cheaper than the Honda, but if you do go for the SE spec Eliminator, has carbon paint, headlight cowl, fork gaiters, that adds the £400 back on. From reviews, it appears the Eliminator focuses on the accessibility factor in all degrees, but perhaps a little bit too much. Some complain of a lackluster engine character, some even say it's a little bit too small from a larger rider's perspective. And for that reason, we're going to give it 3 out of 5 Bike Matters helmets, but it's a very good A2 friendly and accessible bike, and that's the first pro. The second is that it's got an accessible low seat height, 735mm. It could therefore be a great option for a newer rider, particularly someone on the smaller side. Cons: so despite the numbers, the delivery of power apparently isn't the best, and if you're tall, you might not fit comfortably. Next in price, we have the Royal Enfield 650 shotgun. Now, the shotgun is a cracking option for 2024, but then 2025 as well. Indian-owned historic British brand Royal Enfield has been on a roll in recent years, with a series of ever more sophisticated and classic-inspired twins and singles. The Interceptor and Continental GT set the ball rolling in 2018. Followed by the first cruiser, the Meteor 350, the single cylinder, in 2021. In 2023, the stage was set for this 650 Super Meteor, and in 2024 was the turn of this shotgun 650. Also, don't forget the classic 650, that one was revealed at EICMA in 2024. It's going to land in 2025. And it was, of course, one we covered on the channel. So click the video if you want to watch it. Anyway, the shotgun. It has the same 46 brake horsepower twin motor. It's a take on a Super Meteor with the same frame, but it's cut together in more of a hot rod formula. And having reviewed it personally earlier this year, the shotgun package is exceptional fun. It's got plenty of torque and it handles sweetly whether you're sinking the touring miles or you're just carving the back roads. The tripper navigation is a handy addition too, and though it is a bit weighty on paper at 240 kilograms, when you're rolling you don't really notice that weight at all. The motor is nice and low and weighs quite a bit, and that keeps the weight nice and low, which is great for when you're on the road. At £6,699, the base option has a black colourway, and in my opinion that's the nicest one. It's a brilliant A2 compliant cruiser option, and of course you can also consider the Meteor and Classic 350, which also fit here, though they only have 20 brake horsepower and around a 70 miles per hour top speed. But they just have a simple willingness to charm, and it's infectious to ride. And anyway, they're barely over £4,000, so you might find it cheaper there, but it's stonking value. For the Shotgun 650, 5 out of 5 Bike Matters helmets, and of course, full review, full info is in the top right. Pros, great price point, it's got lovely style, and the overall ride quality, the motor handling, is top. Negatives, the fuel economy, bit hit or miss, depending on how you ride, of course. Another con is that the most premium colour that you pay the most for just isn't the nicest, but that's my opinion. Comment if you disagree. And the service intervals do seem quite short on this one. It's every year or every 3,000 miles. That just seems so short to me. Next up, we have the Honda Rebel 1100. Now, we couldn't leave Honda's cruiser offering the Rebel, out is too popular and it's too significant to be left out here. So following 2017's Rebel 500, which is also worth considering on this list, Honda followed up in 2021 with a bigger version. It's powered by a retuned version of the parallel twin engine that you'll find in the Africa Twin adventure bike. And the result, the CMX 1100 Rebel, may lack that authentic American feel of a Harley or an Indian, and also the seductive heritage style of maybe a Triumph or even a Royal Enfield, but it makes up for it by being extremely practical. Trust the Japanese. It's an unfussy machine that's both easy to get on with and has more performance than most. 86 ponies and 98 Nm of torque. That motor is top, it's very nice in the Africa Twin, and it's also pretty good value. Better still, it also has the unique option of coming with Honda's DCT, the semi-automatic dual clutch transmission, and there's even a touring version with panniers and a fairing too. So the rating for the Rebel has to be a 5 out of 5 Bike Matters helmets. Pros, naturally, Honda's reliability is a massive plus here. The engine is mega, and it's a Rebel without a cause, or with a cause. The cons, it just may lack the heritage cruiser feel if you're after that in your cruiser. When it's time to get insurance for your moped, scooter or motorcycle, make sure to head on over to lexhaminsurance.co.uk for an insurance quote. They have several exclusive schemes only at Lexham, so you could potentially find yourself saving some pennies. Moving on, we go to Triumph and the Triumph Bobber. Warning here, I do love this bike. Revived historic British brand Triumph hasn't always got its cruiser offerings right. Its early 1990s adventure was a bit vulgar, and its 2009 Thunderbird 1600 family unsuccessful and short-lived. But it has been bang on the money with its latest Bobbers. Based on the Bonneville 1200 Retro Roadster with a lower chop-down frame and balloon tyres, the Bobber and its twin-seat sister bike, the Speedmaster, are an enticing blend of classic Brit and US Bobber, whilst at the same time delivering lively performance, the Triumph torque and the typically fine Triumph handling. Whilst the initial models had larger front wheels and telescopic forks, the newer models opted for a smaller front for better road handling, upgraded brakes, and overall just refined that handling characteristic even more. If you like your low slung cruiser to retain credible performance and not be too over the top American, you won't be disappointed here. Hate to say, but it's 5 out of 5 Bike Matters helmets for me. Pros, style. That seat is beautiful, and just overall it was a fantastically good looking bike to ride. The engine performance is amazing, the handling is sublime, and that's a surprising one as well. I didn't realise how good that bike would handle. Negatives, this is from my review, the tank range was around about 100 miles. I can't think of any other negatives for the Bobber. Let me know if you get that reference. Now we're moving over to America and we have the Indian Scout Classic. After Harley-Davidson had most of the American cruiser market to itself for over 50 years, historic rival Indian, originally founded in 1953, was bought by industrial giant Polaris in 2011. And then it was relaunched with 3 all-new big twins in 2013 and has been snapping at Harley's heels ever since. I bet Harley wish they bought them. Its most convincing models, however, has arguably been its entry-level rival to Harley's Sportster, the Scout, and it was first launched in 1133cc form in 2015, which is all at once accessible, affordable, entertaining, authentic, and versatile, surprisingly. Thoroughly updated to 1250cc form for 2024, a variety of models are available, including the Classic, the Bobber, the Sport Scout, and more. Most are also cheaper than Harley's current and less convincing Sportster 1250S. Though the Sportster 1250S is quite an interesting bike. Check what I thought of it in the review up there. This Scout Classic sits at the more affordable end of the range and is our first, so far, with the American cruiser heritage and style. Plus, a great big V-twin. 4 out of 5. Pros, it's a V-twin, surprisingly adept handling apparently, and the American substance just shines through. Negatives, it's not as lavish as the more premium Indian options, like a basic switchgear, which kind of lets it down, and some note that the braking performance isn't quite enough, particularly matching a V-twin. Now we're going to Bavaria with the BMW R12. Now German manufacturer BMW is another marque that's recently been trying to take on Harley in the US, and Indian I guess. First off with the R18. But as it's trying to rival Harley-Davidson's traditional V-twin with its own traditional boxer twin, a unique take on the cruiser style is the result, and there's also a little bit less room for your forward placed feet with the engine right there. It has so far been, therefore, less successful in sales than BMW would hope. Quick fact as well, the R18 was my first ever European motorcycle launch. But that doesn't matter at all. Anyway, as a result, big dealer discounts remain available on bikes like BMW's R18 and Transcontinental. But the new R12 is a little bit more convincing, especially if you're after more of a retro roadster with simply a taste of cruiser style. I did like the style of it when I saw it at Motorcycle Live. Now, it is based on the latest R12 Heritage Roadster, but with a detuned engine and revised wheels, suspension, to give a slightly lower seat. The result has most of the appeal and entertaining performance of the R90, but with a lower, easier seat and a cheaper price. The motor, from videos, sounds impeccable too. I'll give it 4 out of 5 helmets. Pros, the style here, very nice. It's a Bavarian boxer beast. Loads of torque. Negatives, the R18 might suggest that it might not hold its value, and you might find that with a boxer engine and the sort of relative weight, it will be difficult to maneuver at low speeds, but it's a cruiser and that's what all of them are like. Anyway, seen one you like yet? What's your favourite so far? Comment yours. I'll tell you mine at the end. No prizes for guessing though. Ducati Diavel V4, up next. So here she is. There are laid back, grunty, traditional cruisers, and then there is the Ducati Diavel, an astonishing hot rod like only Europe's leading superbike manufacturer could build, with all the performance, handling, and electronic sophistication that you'd expect. Simply put, no cruiser is as exciting, dynamic, and potent as this Diavel. And with 166 brake horsepower from the latest V4 version, class-defying handling, top-spec equipment from the likes of Brembo and Öhlins, but with a price to match, I'm sure you're starting to appreciate why it commands such a high purchase price. I mean, just look at it. It's perfect if you want superbike performance, but cruiser comfort, the road presence and attitude that all come hand in hand. And reviews have often said that the Diavel handles extremely well with a motor that is simply superb. If not the Italian-styled cruiser you're after, you're probably better off saving your near 25 grand and plumping for a comparatively prehistoric Indian or Harley instead. I'll give this Ducati Delight a 4 out of 5 score. Pros, the V4. Top spec, and it's the Italian style. You'll turn heads. Cons, that price tag. And some of those turned heads will be because it's a little bit too Batman. It's not for everyone. So you all expected this one, and here it is. The Harley-Davidson, we've gone for the Street Glide. So top of the pile for price, we couldn't conclude our cruiser roundup without including probably the most iconic cruiser brand of all, Harley-Davidson. And when it comes to Harley, there's been one bike that in recent years has been more successful, popular, and most recently, significantly updated, the Street Glide. Though also consider the Lowrider S that we had in earlier this year, which sounded impeccable. Go and listen to that, or listen to it here. Wow. First introduced in 2006 as a chopped-down version of the Electra Glide, the idea being to blend the glide bags and the screen comfort with chopper style. The result quickly became so popular, especially in the US, that it launched a whole subculture and cruising category, baggers. Repeatedly updated since, the latest, introduced in 2024, has more performance, plenty of brake horsepower, and even more torque for low-speed pulls. You've got tech, handling, braking ability, plus a more refined comfort than ever before. Anything Harley D remains the definitive cruiser that needs no introduction. It does work better in California than Crawley, though. And there's nothing quite like the feeling of riding a Harley down the street. But they are typically extremely heavy on the foot and the wallet. We'll give this one 4 out of 5. Pros, it's a Harley. It's on a cruiser list. What do you expect? The torquey V-twin, and it's got the history and the heritage, refined over years. And everyone kind of loves a Harley. Negatives, pricey, heavy. What do you expect? Now, we're not done just yet. We've got the Benda Chinchilla 500. Now, we couldn't get to the end of our list without rounding up some of the latest cruisers for 2024 and not include 2 of the newest offerings from increasingly ambitious Chinese manufacturers. Now, this was imported into the UK by MotoGP, one of the latest and oddest names of all. the Benda Chinchilla 500. It's so new that barely anyone has ridden it yet, and on specification alone and the price, it's worth including here. With an all-new 500cc V-twin, the Chinchilla also boasts a fairly authentic style, obviously inspired by Harley-D's latest Sportster. It's got an A2 compliant 47 brake horsepower, inverted forks, and it looks the part. Best of all though, at the asking price of just £5,299, it undercuts every other machine here by a sizable margin. And if you want more, the Benda range also offers more of a hot rod styled Napoleon bob for £5,699 and the wacky looking but pretty normal name of LFC 700 for £9,499. I'm going to rate this one 3 out of 5. Pros, it genuinely looks really nice. It's got a good A2 spec. The price is very good. Cons, uncertain on reliability as it's brand new. There might be a few faults. And the name, it's just a bit fruity. Final one of the 10, Morbidelli C1002V. Speaking of wacky looking, the latest Chinese cruiser offerings simply don't get any wackier than this. The new for 2025 C1002V from Morbidelli. If you think you've heard the name Morbidelli before, it's no coincidence. The previously named MBP, the Chinese marque bought the historic Italian Morbidelli name in early 2024 and has now rebranded its bikes to suit. The C1002V is the boldest cruiser offering so far. It's based on an all-new 997cc V-twin engine, which also features in Morbidelli's adventure bike, and it has a hot rod style that reminds you both of the Diavel and Harley's Breakout, yet costs £9,499 or the reduced price £8,499. It's less than half the price of either of those two options. Again, we haven't ridden it yet, but at that price and the spec, it's definitely worth at least a test ride. And look at that fat rear wheel. Massive. It could be one to consider if you're happy with a relative gamble on an up-and-coming brand. Score, 3 out of 5, just because we don't really know too much about it. Pros, decent spec, has cruise control. It's another V-twin as well. Cons, it's getting a little bit pricey. If it was to get over £10,000, you can get some pretty established options, particularly second-hand. And another con is the reliability. It's yet to be seen. Could be good though, so it's just a guess. So, my pick, if you're a subscriber, thank you by the way, then you will know already, it's the Triumph Bobber. The style, the torque, the overall ride, it's all right on the money for me. It sounds beautiful too. And I think you'll struggle to find a bobber that does it all like this right out of the box. Though you might want more power at the top end, it's a fantastic machine. Go watch the review for that one. Subscribe, ciao, and I'll see you on the next one.